For any game, certain equipment is required. Before starting the game, this equipment needs to be arranged in a specific way. For example, in football, you need a football, a large field, several players, a referee, etc. Before the game starts, the field is marked in a specific way, and the players are divided into two teams. Then, the game begins according to the rules. Similarly, for chess, a chessboard and some special pieces are required. Before starting the game, the pieces are arranged on the board in a specific way. After that, two players begin playing according to the rules. In this chapter, we will discuss the preparations that need to be made before starting a chess game. But first, it is important to know that the rules of chess are set by the World Chess Federation, FIDE. Chess is played worldwide according to the rules established by FIDE. Even when playing online or in software, FIDE rules are followed. Now, let's take a quick look at the sections of this video. The chessboard, the chess pieces, and how to set up the board and pieces correctly. A chessboard is a square-shaped board. It has 8 vertical columns and 8 horizontal rows, files and ranks. The columns are called files, and they are denoted as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. This is the B file, this is the E file, and this is the H file. Typically, lowercase letters are used to denote file names. The rows are called ranks, and they are denoted as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the first rank, this is the third rank, and this is the 7th rank. At the edges of the board, you'll find these symbols that represent the names of files and ranks, which are known as coordinates. Since there are 8 files and 8 ranks, the chessboard is divided into 64 small squares. These squares are marked with 2 different colors so that adjacent squares are always of different colors, while diagonal squares are of the same color. Typically, black and white are used, but you can choose any color combination you like. In this example, white and green are used, because using a black piece on a black square could be confusing. Squares and their names. Chessboard boxes are referred to as squares. The white squares are called light squares, and the black squares are called dark squares. So, on a chessboard, there are 32 light squares and 32 dark squares, making up a total of 64 squares. This is why chess is sometimes called the game of 64 squares. Each square has a unique name based on the file and rank it's located in. The name of the square is formed by combining the file and rank it belongs to, in which the file's name always comes first. For example, this square is located on the E file, and the 5th rank, so its name is E5. This square is located on the F file, and the 2nd rank, so its name is F2. From black's perspective, this square is located on the G file, and the 6th rank, so its name is G6. In this figure, all the names of the squares are mentioned. It's important to remember them when learning the game. These names will also be useful when learning how to make moves. It's also essential to know the color of each square, which is something advanced players often consider. We'll discuss this in detail later, but for now, just knowing the square names is enough. You should always remember that H1 and A8 are light squares, meaning they will always be white. Besides files and ranks, there's another way to divide the chessboard, and that's by using diagonals. Diagonals are useful when making diagonal moves, such as with the bishop, queen, or pawn. Some examples of diagonals are a 1 to H8, D1 to H5, F1 to A6, etc. For now, This basic understanding of the chessboard is enough. We know that a chessboard has 64 squares, which are marked by two different colors. Similarly, chess pieces are divided into two colors, commonly white and black. In a game, one player navigates the white pieces, and the other navigates the black pieces. The player navigating the white pieces is referred to as the white player, while the one navigating the black pieces is called the black player. Overview of chess pieces. The chess pieces include king. Chess software or websites display it like this. Queen. In some regions, the queen is referred to as the minister, but globally, it's mostly known as the queen, so we will use this term. Chess software or websites display it like this. Rook. Bishop. Knight. Pawn. Thus, the 6 types of chess pieces are king, queen, rook, bishop, knight, and pawn. Among these, all the pieces except for the pawn are considered power. Number of pieces. At the start of a game, there are 32 pieces in total. Each player begins with an equal number of pieces, 16 white and 16 black. The white player's pieces include 1 king, 1 queen, 2 rooks, 2 bishops, 2 knights, 8 powers, along with 8 pawns, making a total of 16 pieces. Similarly, the black player's pieces include 1 king, 1 queen, 2 rooks, 2 bishops, 2 knights, 8 powers, along with 8 pawns, totaling 16 pieces. Even though the game starts with these 32 pieces, players can remove their opponent's pieces from the board based on the rules. Once removed, a piece can no longer participate in the game. In chess, this process is called capture. As pieces are captured, the number of pieces decreases. Additionally, a player can promote a pawn into any power except the king. This process is known as pawn promotion. It can change the number of powers. The game continues this way until a result is achieved, meaning the game ends. We will discuss these subjects in detail later. For now, this overview of chess pieces should suffice. Chess is played between 2 players. To start the game, players must place the board and pieces accurately. Let's learn about these rules in detail. How to set up the chessboard. The chessboard can't be placed randomly. It must be positioned so that the square closest to each player's right hand is white. If you look closely at the board, you'll see that 2 corners, H1 and 8, are white squares. This means that when the players sit facing each other, the player on this side will have the H1 square closest to right hand, while the player on this side will have the A8 square closest. This is the correct way to set up the board. How to place the pieces on the chessboard. Each square can hold only 1 piece. Multiple pieces cannot be placed in a single square. White pieces are placed on the 1st and 2nd ranks, and black pieces are placed on the 7th and 8th ranks. The player sitting on the side with white pieces will navigate white pieces, so this player is referred to as the white player. On the other hand, this player, controlling the black pieces, will be called the black player. Both players must follow the same rules for piece placement. For the white player, 2 rooks must be placed at the corners of the 1st rank, followed by 2 knights next to them, and 2 bishops after that. The white queen must be placed on the white square, and the king must be placed on the remaining square in the 1st rank. All pawns must be placed in each square of the 2nd rank. Similarly, for the black player, 2 rooks must be placed at the corners of the 8th rank, followed by 2 knights, and then 2 bishops. The black queen must be placed on a black square, and the king must be placed on the remaining square of the 8th rank. Pawns must be placed on each square of the 7th rank. Notice that the white king and black king face each other, as do the queens. This is the correct way to set up the pieces on the board. After learning about the chessboard, the chess pieces, and the rules for arranging the board, and how to set up the board and pieces correctly, it's time for learners to understand how to properly move the pieces. But before that, there are a few more important concepts that should be known. Let's get familiar with them. Names of pawns. All pawns are identical, so they don't have individual names. However, after placing them on the board, the pawns can be named according to the piece in front of them. For example, the pawn in front of the king is called the king's pawn, and the pawn in front of the queen is called the queen's pawn. Similarly, we have the bishop's pawn, knight's pawn, and rook's pawn. Names of the bishops. The bishop placed on a white square is called the light square bishop, and the one placed on a black square is called the dark square bishop. Parts of the board. Since the king is positioned on one half of the board, this half is called the king's side. Similarly, the side where the queen is positioned is called the queen's side. Center of the board. These 4 squares, D4, D5, E4, and E5, are called the center of the board. That's all for today. In the next series, we will learn how to move the pieces properly. Thank you.